least the structure, the inner structure of my talk in Vancouver in July, where we are having the 150th anniversary of the Theosophical Society. By now, I understand we have more than 400 members and friends who are coming to Vancouver. So I better account myself well. So I'm working on that, and mine is the last talk in the conference. So that's kind of a penultimate, you know. So all of this requires a great deal of attention, but I have come up with, I think, what shall be my central theme with various embellishments, and that is really the one I'm working on here now. So don't pay too much attention to the titles on the flyers, because I am the flyer. So in any event, last week already we began this, and I think that little vignette can be attached anytime, that practically ever since my joining the Theosophical Society, which was in this place and was in 1953, so I've been around a long time. So ever since that time, when I was spending my nights with the secret doctrine and things of that sort, you know, for let's see, how old was I at that time? For about a 23, 24-year-old guy to spend every night with the secret doctrine is a kind of an unusual deed right there, but I did perform it. So ever since then, I always had a strange kind of underlying, creeping thought that came back pretty much at every meeting, namely that there must be more to this. And meaning that the secret doctrine is all right, but that there is more material that should be and perhaps in due course will be found. And there were some of our friends and members here, particularly Mr. Will Ross, a very splendid British gentleman. He was a nautical engineer who works for the U.S. Navy in Long Beach Harbor and things like that. Great guy. And he several times brought up in full meeting that we need an additional theosophy. And one of the names that he gave to that was the mysticism of theosophy. And I agreed with him. In fact, Manly Hall was involved in that discourse also, but that's not really important at this point. In any event, that there is something of a very important, a very central, a very quintessential nature, which you don't really find in the secret doctrine except metaphorically. As Joey Mills, who was a long-time great light of the society here in America, pointed out that the secret doctrine is a myth. It is a magnificent myth to which all kinds of things can be attached. But in itself, it is just like a myth. It stands on its own, and then you have to find out things about it. And I very much think so that she was right. And so, as time has gone on, at least I wasn't like so many others who, as time goes on, they go on. You know, no, I remain. I said, look, this was the matrix that has given me the light, and I'll be darned if I'm ever going to desert it. There's not everything that rings right to me. There's not everything that turns me on, as the good old 60s expression had it. But you know what? As long as the Lord gives me breath, I am going to stick with it. And I think I have chosen well. But let us say within that choice, there is also the consideration which I started out with, that like every philosophical or metaphysical or mythic system, there needs to be more specific and specialized attention given to the philosophy. And there is a great deal there that may still be in need of discovery. But I looked around, I read the books over and over again. You should see my old edition. It's so beat up that you wouldn't believe it. But in any event, the secret doctrine said, we have to wait it out till some of the signs will appear as to where this is supposed to go. I could see that with the immense mythical structure, it's a terrific preparation for people who need a deal of good occult stimuli for their imagination, which most people don't. They don't mind imagining what's it called now? AI, and things like that, various technological things, which if I tried very hard, I could imagine part of them, but the rest of the time, forget it. But let's say there is something there, I felt, for a great many years, that is trying to come out, that is trying to reveal itself, that is trying to complete the revelation of 150 years ago. And I have the feeling, whether rightly or wrongly, that somehow that time has arrived now. And the manner of ways in which it has arrived, and I mentioned those before, but those are the documentation which we need to keep track of, that probably some 25 years ago or so, some writings of H.P. Blavatsky had come to the fore, which had not been seen or perhaps even known for a very long time, but which at one time were used by her and her immediate disciples in the wake of the publishing and the publicity, which was huge and which remained huge, of the secret doctrine when she published that. And these indicated that she was anxious to bring forth an additional layer, an additional level of interpretation and insight, which might be stimulated by the secret doctrine, but which was not directly present in the secret doctrine. And that something of this sort was going to come. Well, no longer I thought that that was the case when I met a splendid gentleman whom I hope I'll be able to introduce to you sometime, Mr. Michael Gomes of New York City, who is sort of tacitly accepted as the great theosophical historian at the present time. And historians are an active lot. So when the historian has an idea that he should look for something, then he goes for it. There are like little Sherlock Holmeses. And that's what Michael Gomes had done. So all of a sudden here he was with two big manuscripts, one of them larger than the other, which had been discovered, I think probably for the most part in the Adyar archives in India, where Madame Blavatsky lived for such a long time, and which were definite indication that she intended to have and to personally produce an extensive commentary in depth of the secret doctrine, and that she openly proclaimed that the secret doctrine was not enough. It was enough up to a certain point, but not after that. And so two books had come to the publication desks in recent years, and they are the first one, the big thick one, is called the Secret Doctrine Commentaries, and the second one, which our valiant book club is fighting with, is the esoteric teachings of H.P. Blavatsky. Now, so we have some interesting material there, from which, in addition to various statements of HPB, this kind of the other things, reminiscences of her associates, one can piece together the fact that she felt that the secret doctrine was a work for the public. Now, I often wonder as to what kind of public had enough brains to read that, but then that's another question. In any event, she said that it was for the general public, and then she intended to have a follow-up literature which went beyond the public and which would have conveyed the deeper and the esoteric teachings and contacts, which then could be of further and possibly personal use of the members and friends of the Theosophical Society. And as these books then, largely as the result of the fierce determination of their editor, whom I hope you meet one of these days, came to be published. And from these, the two books, the first is a large book which was also published only within the last few decades, and in it she gathered a group of students who came to her. I think by then she was living in the Annie Besant house in London. Her first residence was in Mabel Collins's house. The second one was in Annie Besant's house. In any event, and she's being asked questions raised presumably by the secret doctrine, and then answering them. It's moved slowly. It's not vital, but it's somewhat interesting, and it's worth reading. It's a great big thick book. It isn't as big as the secret doctrine, but it's pretty big. And then there was discovered, I still don't quite know exactly where, not that it bothers me, but I think probably in the archives in Adyar, there was discovered the esoteric instructions of H.P. Blavatsky. And that is now published and edited and of great use if one knows how to put it to use, let's put it to that way, because that's not easy. H.P. Blavatsky did not write for easy readers. The easy readers and easy writers, but no, she wrote serious material, namely in the sense that whatever she read and wrote was worthy of taken seriously. And that's really a pretty good policy. If you decide to become a writer to any degree or extent, I think you should follow that. Look, if my stuff is not worthy to be considered seriously, then what the heck am I writing it for? So the value that you place on your own material is of great importance. And so now with these materials and now some additional material, might as well throw that into the pile also. Namely, since then there has been published by our Theosophical Society in two different editions of the house organ, you might say, of the Theosophical Society in USA, which, how would we call them? They, the Quest magazine, and already 2 issues have come forth with the Quest magazine, very carefully edited and very nice material, which amplifies and supplies the already by then available material of the Theosophical Society of the sort that I'm alluding to. Now, all right, what are we talking about here? What we are talking about that the materials that have, and I'm probably repeating this, and you probably think, well, repetition is not all that great, but I'll keep it short. In them is the repetition of the theme that she really began after her return to the British Isles and subsequent death, which indicate that, there is something that is worth considering, something that is really deep, something that can be a significant addition to the study and the apprehension of the secret doctrine. So sort of something that goes beyond the secret doctrine, but of course you have to study it, you have to understand it, and so forth. And then the poor old dear died. She has been in poor health for a very long time and all that. But let's say she completed this much, and she certainly wished to complete a lot more. All right, now where do we stand with this material? And now, believe it or not, the private correspondences of H.P. Blavatsky, her letters to a number of people, mainly people whom she knew intimately, her relatives in Russia, and various other people have come forth, which also give us additional insight into what she may have been striving for in terms of her future writings. Now then, just a little bit, because we come back to it with our book club anyway, and otherwise a little bit about what has been now available for a number of years, the esoteric teachings. Now we need to remember this, that right there indicates something that I think most members of the society have missed. And what is that? That there is an esoteric side to theosophy. Esoteric inner instead of exoteric outer. And that if we pay attention to that and apprehend with as much spiritual sagacity as we can muster that other side, then we will be well rewarded. So what is it then? Well, those things are difficult to discern right off the bat. To use a Transylvanian expression, although I must say I have seen more Australian bats than Transylvanian bats. But that's just a little sideline. Or you should see the gigantic bats that they have in Australia, the flying foxes. You better gird up your loins if you see them. I was taking a walk in Melbourne, I think it was, along the shore of the bay, and they're looking around happily and this and that. And all of a sudden I look up and I see this huge thing flying in the sky. I almost said with the verse, with the one something and the one big eye. But there it was, gigantic thing. It spreads out its wings, it would be all over here, and so I just kept going. Then I got back to my domicile, where a number of my hostesses and theosophical ladies were drinking tea. What else would they be doing? And so I came and drank tea with them. But I told them, I said, I just saw something that somewhat shocked me, this gigantic bats. And she said, oh yes, those are our flying foxes. And at this time of the evening they come out and fly back to some of the smaller islands just off the coast there. And there they wait, and then from those they fan out and get their feed, so to say, because they are very eager to get their nourishment, and it's beautiful creatures and that. Huge. So any event, of course, there have always been things, creatures, and unusual discoveries, both of people and of things, in various places that harken back to H.P. Blavatsky. Now, what have we discovered so far? And I could go on, and this would not be very useful. So I will try to cut down on it, but apparently so far the main concrete discovery has been that the secret doctrine was not enough, and that this grieved her, and that she was determined, if she could, to expand the vision beyond the secret doctrine, and thereby bring a deeper insight into the revelations of the secret doctrine. Now, that being the overall statement, let's see a little bit of what we are dealing with. If you look at the situation in depth, you will see that as indeed indicated earlier, that her statements in the secret doctrine that she had given out and that had been included, well, there's nothing bad about them, there's nothing false about them, but they are in a certain sense incomplete. Now, if something is incomplete, then you should question yourself and say, incomplete in what regard? How is it to be completed? And that, of course, is probably a significant question. And what it really, the way it is developing at the present time, I would say, and this now I have to introduce my own view of these things, and maybe my view does not qualify as profound an insight as some people may think, but I tell it just the same. And that is this, that something is missing. What is it that is missing? Well, what is missing is a deeper, a more profound, a more stirring message of the original theosophical message, which might add to it, which might complete it, and which might add a dimension that would be highly useful and that undoubtedly was meant to be made public. But the opportunity for that public statement was not available owing to the sudden death of H.P. Blavatsky. Now then, if so, what is it? Now that's a great big question, and I can't really state that I can answer it with any degree of completeness, but what it is that there is, of course these are all metaphors, there is how to put it, there is a heart of theosophy, and that what has been published is not the heart, but it is nevertheless an extremely valuable pointing to the greater teaching. So what is it? Well, now when it comes to that, then it's a little more difficult, obviously. And what, of course, you have to remember that she was very close to the Tibetan Buddhist Sangha, some other Buddhist Sanghas. She was a learned woman in a certain direction of learning, and that learning was probably to a large extent anchored in Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhism, but also in some other traditions. All right, now how may we summarize this evening without having to carry the message over yet another week as to what this was or is? Well, what it was or is the fact that the teachings of theosophy that have been made public and that you have been made aware of are only a part. If you recognize a certain inner core of those teachings, and also a possibility of carrying these teachings forward in the spirit of H.P. Blavatsky, but not by her words, then you will have discovered something very important. And I think that was and that is true. In other words, how can this be summarized? It's as difficult to talk about it as it was to read it. But I'd say, I would say that an opening, a door, a gate has been made ready for us in order to take the process of theosophical wisdom to another level. And how could it be conceived and explained what that other level is? Obviously, if you just read a few hundred pages of the secret doctrine, you will discover that there's a heck of a lot material there, but it is, I wouldn't want to say too much about it because that might be considered derogatory too, but let us say what has been given to us is vast and useful and can lead to extremely significant discoveries beyond itself. Beyond itself. And what are those? Well, once again, there'll be a lot of literature about these things. I have written a little bit too, but others are writing more. And certainly some of the discoveries to be broadcast at the Vancouver meeting will be concerning them. But trying to pull all these strings together, which is certainly not easy, I would say that we have been shown the overall picture. We have been shown the way of dealing with the ultimate reality. And that the way we have been shown that, it in turn points to greater visions. So we have been shown something very important that can be further looked at, further explored, and possibly brought into a greater and more complete focus. And what is that? Well, within these circumstances, it's not so easy to speak about it, but let us say there is a future. There is a future revelation, a future vision that is unfolding, that was there already in H.P. Blavatsky's days, and that is now unfolding to the point that we can approach it in a somewhat more evident way, even in such a way that it leads beyond itself. Now, of course, I am hinting at things, but what we are hinting at is that the secret doctrine of Blavatsky, accompanied by its various commentaries and writings, the key to theosophy, and many others, but the secret doctrine and its particular revelation points beyond itself. Where does it point? It's very difficult to talk about, and even more difficult to talk about accurately. But where it points is to the innermost core of each and every one of us. We have within us something mysterious, something that is so hidden and so evanescent that it's extremely hard to discover even any trace of it. And that is what is the crowning achievement of Blavatsky and of the secret doctrine, and the one that, according to our ability and our talents, we are to realize if we are to make true what Blavatsky has given. Now then, this is very mysterious, but it's not as mysterious as it may sound. Now, I could get caught up in some large and complicated disclosures here that have been given, but I'm not going to do that. But what appears to me, at least metaphorically, to be true, that there at the greater gate of reality stands or sits Helena Petrovna Blavatsky and says to us, there is something here. There is something that I have brought. There is something that I came to know. And you can know it too. And by its knowing, by its gnosis, you can change not only yourself, but many, many other people and circumstances. And that the way that is indicated, that now we have to jump back a little bit to the secret doctrine, because when you look back in the secret doctrine, what has happened? Indications have been given as to where the ultimate, the transcendental, the liberating truth, which cannot go away, will be located, and how it may be then approached. And that's an immense disclosure, which obviously, if stated in such a fashion, would have been very difficult for most people to approach. Now we got to take a tremendous big jump to the beginning of the secret doctrine, the eternal parent, who wrapped in his ever-invisible robes had come once again and revealed itself. And what is that? Now, some secret doctrine material, some mythic material comes in handy. We have been given a truly secret, the secret doctrine. And what is the secret doctrine? That the liberating secret is already within us, but that we need to work with it and approach it. She didn't have the time to go into any details about it, but it is there, and it is incredible, and it is magnificent. So, what is it? Once again, if we jump back in the secret doctrine to those particular passages where the eternal parent, wrapped in her invisible robes, had uttered the creative word, then we remember that the creation of the cosmos and of ourselves within it is centered in a great and amazing secret. And that secret is, would be hard to describe, but is to a great extent or to the effect that we have a secret within us, and that we have the ability, although not always the capacity, to open it up and to release it and to make it effective. And this secret came from the eternal parent. It came from the pleroma that the Gnostics speak about, beyond all manifestation. And this pleroma, this creative fullness said, you work on this, you learn, you practice, you desire, you put forth your loving desire to this system, and then it will come to you. It is infinitesimal. It has no dimension. It is so small and so evanescent that you will never find it. But you will find it if you put forth your desireful, your loving movement and say, yes, I want to be with that. Yes, I am the child of the eternal and not of the temporal. And in so doing, you move closer and closer to it. And then these infinitesimal little signals, which we have within us already, begin to move and move further and further. And as they come out further and further, there is a certain type, a certain degree of enlightenment. There is a movement of the prodigal son who has moved away from the center, and now something comes and holds him and her and takes her back and shows her, look, this is it. This is what you were looking for. This is what has been looking for you. This is what has come from the eternal, the ageless marvel, which is the remaining kernel of transcendence. The closer you come to it, the more you will feel it. The closer you come to it, the more you will find expression within it. The closer you come to it, the more you will recognize, oh my God Almighty, it is right here, it is in me, and I never noticed it, and maybe time is now for me to come closer and closer to it, and to make it a more vivid, a more enduring reality in my life, and perhaps to some extent in the life of others. And then it will come. It's until this time we have glimpses. And you know what? Those glimpses are quite valuable. Because if you glimpse something of this sort, you glimpse something pretty doggone important. But let's say among them is that now and then in our lives, in some context, whatever it happens to be, we come across a spiritual being, somebody like a Blavatsky, although perhaps not within an earthly setting, and they will, by way of their nature and what they are doing, will bring closer to us this incredible mystery that they carry. And I'm sure that have been times, you may not remember some of them, when some being of this sort came really close to it and you said, aha, this is it. I can plead guilty to it, and it was a very important and enduring experience of my life, for the experience of which I will be eternally grateful. And with it comes also a certain energy, a certain power. He says, look, this is what it is really like. Now stay with this, come with us, don't leave the path even for a minute, and by not leaving it, you will arrive to where we all needed to arrive. This is the finish line, which the ultimate deity has decreed. Go there, and then it all will be done, it all will be finished. And now and then, here and there, with great great reluctance, maybe we did something in that regard. But let's say, even as this tiny, imperceptible self, which subsequently was sometimes called the higher self, the Buddha nature, all kinds of things, had come forth and manifested, so we can manifest it, or so we can collaborate in its manifestation within ourselves. And when we have, then we have accomplished, at least up to that point, what Blavatsky wanted to accomplish. Because what she wanted to do was to bring us gnosis. Look, you can know, you don't have to believe, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is get close to that incredible fiery spark that is there within you and that wants to come out and take over your life and take over everything that it can by way of your permission, by way of your work. And this can be done, and this has been done, and this will be done. It's the greatest miracle of the cosmos. There's none like it. And if we look for it, we'll find it. If we don't look for it, we might not find it. But if we look for it, we'll find it. And in so doing, we will bring at least to a closer stage of completion what the old princess's great-granddaughter, Madame Blavatsky, from the long line of Russian rulers and saints and so forth, what she tried to bring and what she did come to bring. Now, I am not just whistling Dixie, although I know how to do that, After all, I traveled in the South, But I'm not just whistling Dixie, but let's say if you look very carefully, and you don't have too many resistances to it, then as looking into the ether of the past through which you in your spiritual selfhood traveled, you will be doing, here is a lightning streak. This is one upon which I traveled. Look, here it is. We are on the right path. We are going in the right direction, and we come from the right direction, and if we continue to avail ourselves with the help that is available to us, then we cannot go wrong. So this is a little glimpse into what has been discovered about Blavatsky's intention, about Blavatsky's will and work to bring this ancient and yet timeless recollection into manifestation. And so, in a sense, this is the esoteric theosophy. And of course, various maybe superficial notions have been brought into activity, and always to mean esoteric means you're not going to eat any meat. Oh yeah? Well, I tell you what, I know a number of very esoteric creatures, and they are mostly tigers. Some of them are lions. Some of them are crocodiles. They are the most devoted to that particular tradition. But you see, it is something terribly something. It is something that cries forth right now from the innermost nature of your being and says, I am here, come and find me, let us carry this further. This is what it is all about. And if hear properly, and if we realize that that is really a possibility, no matter how distant, no matter how difficult, it is there, and with our determined effort and with our knowledge, our gnosis, we will come closer and closer to it, and that will be, well, I suppose, I would say that will be the day of the ultimate hallelujahs. The recognition of something of greatest reality, greatest magnificence, greatest help and greatest revelation. And if we look for that, if we work for that, it will come to us. The reward of the work is in the search for it. And then it is in the finding. The search leads to the finding, and with that all things are resolved, all things are grace, and we shall have nothing of significance to stand in our way anymore. So I think that with that I can conclude this particular section, and I still have one, because without it I think the Blavatsky cycle would remain somewhat incomplete. And what is that? The immense and largely misunderstood search for the masters, which is, I'm no longer as critical of it as I was before, because that search has yielded various results. Only the way that those results have been interpreted may not be altogether helpful. And so next time I will do as much as I can of an explication from, and now this is now very, very much personal to myself, of the master mythos and how we can get close to it without being deceived, without being once again led astray, because there is something there. It's not a big nothing, although a tremendous bunch of balderdash has been concocted about it, not so much on the part of the Theosophical Society, but various other people, what kind of masters? In any event, great big hullabaloo about the ascended masters. Oy vey, I added the oy vey to it. If there are ascended masters around, you know how they will ascend through you, in you, by you. And if they won't ascend that way, they won't at all. Not by Mrs. So-and-so in Montana or somewhere else, but rather a recognition of who are the ascended masters. Ourselves, potentially, not actually yet, potentially. And so it is also very important to remember. Now, I just throw one thing in so I don't sound too negative, and then we shall be, we shall be finished for this evening. And what I was going to throw in, that the masters, so-called, are helpers, which of necessity and of their own inner necessity are here to help those who are moving toward the goal. There are such. And they are and to describe them as having a beard this long and smoking a pipe that long or things like that, this is childish stuff. But they're there. And if you are deserving of assistance, of consolation, of help, they will come. Who they are not going to tell you. Because who they are is not as important as what they do. And what they do is help you. Help, help, help. Don't we all deserve help? And the names don't matter, and the Mahachohans don't matter, and all of that. Those are all ways in which people try to describe these strange events that are taking place. But the events are there. The teachers are there. The helpers are there. They were there for C.G. Jung. I could go on and on to tell him what tremendous enlightenment and help they brought him and to many other people. Because when you do this right, when you are going after it, then you will have help. I shouldn't be so arrogant, but I tell you, just on the basis of my experience and those of others, if you do this right, you will receive help. You will all the help that you can muster, that and with all that help, you will reach the goal. And so may the mystery of that which hangs with heaven and earth remain with us and guide us always. Thank you.